Welcome to K.I.S.S. Keep It Simple, Smart Healthcare 101. My name is Ken Wazina with EBA1. Today we have Kayla Shawn, who's the president and CEO of the Healthcare Navigator. I wanted to share this with our audience because it's helped me out and it's helped my clients out with the consumer-driven healthcare, help employees understand what their true out-of-pocket is, and it's also helped employers by managing their healthcare spend. So without further ado, I wanted to turn it over. Kayla, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. A bit about me and the Navigator. Essentially, we started out as a social good application. We were mainly with Medicare and Medicaid. Maybe some of your grandparents have heard of us, and we were really popular in that space because we really just wanted to revolutionize healthcare and put the power back in patients' hands. It wasn't until we started getting traction within the Medicare and Medicaid market that employers were interested in our service, specifically because employers normally get the brunt end of the stick when it comes to healthcare claims and healthcare costs. A lot of employees, unfortunately, they don't have the knowledge they need to actually navigate the healthcare system, and it's a lot more complex than you think. With our app, we've made it extremely easy and simple, almost like Uber or Expedia, where you're able to get everything that you need on our app, whether it's you have to make a decision on your healthcare and you want to know all of your options, or if it's as simple as what's my copay for a cardiologist visit. So all of those pesky questions that HR always has to deal with, or all of those questions that really do rack up healthcare claims, we deal with so that we're navigating your employees towards the best space so that we're lowering your costs and improving efficiency.
Where have you seen the biggest impact? Has it been in the employers with high deductibles, copay plans, challenges with pharmacy? Where have you seen the biggest impact?
That's a good question. I would say with us, we're seeing a large impact when it comes to your self-funded plans, specifically RBPs. They have a harder time because RBPs aren't as mainstream. A lot of employees, they don't know that, balance billing comes in if you don't, work with the provider that's in that network. And so we really help those plans make it easier for employees so that they're choosing directly within the plan instead of going outside and having a bunch of headaches. In terms of savings, again, self-funded plans, they see the most savings when it comes to us, specifically because, they really want that risk management part. The employers understand that they are taking on some risk when it comes to self-funded plans. They like our service because we help guide the decision-making of those employees. You don't have to worry about John from marketing choosing a high-cost hospital with low quality. Instead, you know that he's getting directed towards those high-quality, low-cost care options that are within your plan and are going to make sure those high-cost claims are reduced as much as possible. And so we are really the front lines when it comes to healthcare plans. That risk management strategy has been a huge win for our self-funded employers and also our level-funded employers. We do have some fully insured, and because premiums rose so high last year, we're seeing a lot more fully insured plans trying to find different mechanisms to essentially, rein in those costs and reduce the likelihood of high-cost claims to effectively reduce their premiums. Across the board, we're seeing success with all different types of plans, but those self-funded and level-funded plans, they're really getting their money's worth with us.
Well, two things that stick out to me is one, for anyone who knows me, truly knows me, knows that I love RVP. I love the reference-based pricing plans. I've seen the biggest impact to employers' healthcare budgets when I've implemented the plans. There is a little disruption, especially in the first 3 to 6 months, with the employees understanding how the plans work. And it's all about the communication. I always say one of my favorite sayings is healthcare is great until you have to use it, because that's where the challenges come from. And I know, unlike us on this call, that we talk about this every day, it's very easy for us to understand, and we still have challenges. But the average employee looks at their health care or their health insurance probably once a year, and then only when they have to use the plan. So this has opened up so many different, let's say, customer service avenues and employee advocacy for me and my clients. With RVP, it is a regional thing. It doesn't work in every region. I'm located in Connecticut, and it works very well here. I've seen the biggest impact on a healthcare spend when implementing it. I've had health insurance total spends reduced by 30% in a 2-year basis, which is entirely opposite than the average trend in the US. An average trend for an employer with 100 to 500 employees is around 6 to 8%. So we usually use 8%. But But beneath that, we see dramatic increases in that fully insured space in the smaller clients. Kayla mentioned balanced billing, and that's kind of a scare tactic sometimes that some of the older, let's say brokers, not older in age, but the brokers that have been around for a while usually use the balanced billing as a scare tactic to stay away from RBP. But the reality is it usually happens 1% of the time. It's very similar to a fully insured plan. On that note, what does this do? What are we talking about here? Aside from employee advocacy, could you just give us the high level, what happens when we implement the Healthcare Navigator?
Great question. So normally what happens is that we are both an app service and an in-person service. So that means you can do virtual sessions with a nurse just like this via Teams or Zoom, whichever the employee wants, where you get that one-on-one time for that employee to get navigated, or the employee can use our app. And that has been the number one most utilized part of our service because everyone nowadays, they want easy, they want quick. I always like to say they want the Amazon method, right? So they don't want to wait around for their answers. They want it now. And especially with healthcare being extremely stressful. I mean, everyone has had some sort of healthcare issue. It's scary when you have some sort of disease, some sort of issue, and you want answers and you want them now. Our app is different from most navigation solutions because we have an 11-in-1 solution. So that means we have combined 11 of the top most utilized point solutions in the benefit space, and we've combined them into one platform. That way you don't have to have 11 different vendors. You get all of the solutions you'll ever need in one place and in one app. And so those solutions can range anywhere from procedure price transparency, where you're able to shop for care. If you know that you need a knee surgery done, you get to see what hospitals are the best, and not just by some generic rating like a thumbs up or thumbs down. You get actual metrics with us. So for example, we really focus on readmission rates and infection rates. Most navigation systems don't have that, and they don't tell the employee how to read that. And so we give you quality first, and we focus on those clinical metrics first. I always say quality above all else. So you're able to see the price that you're going to pay. So not just the standard price, but your price with your deductible included, with your co-insurance included, etc., so that you know exactly what you're going to pay and you know the quality. We have the ability to see provider quality. So how good is your doctor actually? Do you want to see their clinical metrics? They're graded just like everyone in school is graded. Your doctor has their own GPA, if you will, and you get to see that on our app. You get to see what procedures they do. Other things you get to see is our Care Genius, which provides medical bill negotiation and clinical decision support. So instead of John from marketing making a decision where he's going to have an extremely invasive surgery, now he just puts in what his issue is, and our Care Genius will give him all of his options. So yeah, knee surgery is an option, but so is rehab. So are all these other procedures and treatments that you can do that are less invasive and cost less. We do a conservative care approach first. And so that means let's try the less invasive options first before we just go all the way to surgery or all the way to some extremely high cost procedure. Other apps that are in our platform include Freedom Meds, which is essentially low cost medications and low cost labs. We also have LumiMind, which is mental health therapy. So a lot of the younger generations, they love mental health and they want that in their benefits. If you notice, it's a lot of solutions that you will already want and need, but just in one place.
So one of the things that jumps out to me is what you just mentioned at the end about the younger employees wanting a mental health solution. It's definitely a generational thing in terms of where employees value their healthcare. I see it every day, especially with the younger population where they want an app, they want to go online, where our older population still wants it in person or still wants to be able to talk to somebody. There's definitely a big difference in terms of what are your demographics. Each employer is totally different. They're never the same. Another thing that you mentioned was Care Genius. And I absolutely love it. I've used it for some of my clients where I've jumped in and acted, let's say, more than just an advisor, helped them out because I've known them for a long time and truly wanted to help them. I wanted to share some of that. But before I get into it, if you were to highlight the 11 different solutions, what are the three most popular?
The three most popular by far, number one, you already know it, it's Care Genius. Everyone loves Care Genius. Normally, we have about 30 to 40 people on it a day, and so it's always busy. The next is our cost compass. So that's procedure price transparency. A lot of people, when they realize that not all hospitals are the same and the prices are different for each one, that makes a load of difference. People like to shop. I mean, that's just our consumeristic care. And more than enough employees have been hit with a surprise bill where they don't want to go through that again. And neither does the employer. We see a lot of attention on that app. And then the third most popular app is our LumiMind. So that's mental health therapy, where you can get access to both an in-person therapist and an AI therapist for those younger generations that like to use AI for therapy nowadays. Those are the top three. Sometimes they change depending on, what time of the year it is. Some people in the beginning of the year, they like to use Pocket Doc, which is the provider quality, because they want to know what their doctor's quality is for this go around, because it updates yearly. So those are the three right now.
So that really jumps out to me in terms of the quality of the doctor, because I think there's a lot of steering going on inside of, I know with my own primary care physician, I had to have a procedure done and he just referred me to his friend, right? Well, his friend's in the network and there's no consideration in terms of what my financial responsibility is. Is it in my network? Is it out of network? So this allows you to have, let's say, an unbiased opinion and viewpoint of care. And there's no weight behind it, meaning there's no one steering you to go to one of the doctors because these are their grades. And you can pick and choose between which provider that you need. So right now we're really focused, or we're talking about the employee experience. So from an employer standpoint, what's important to you, to me, all the things we're talking about are going to help your employees have a good experience, but also reduce the claims. And so when you start to manage claims, you in turn manage your healthcare spend. So that's usually something that, let's say in the fully insured, the traditional healthcare model, you can't manage a claim. 99% of claims in that space are auto-adjudicated. A procedure code comes in and then the turnaround, it goes to the provider, to the carrier, and the claim gets paid. Here, we're looking at the claim, we're seeing what the procedure code is, we're looking at what the Medicare rate is, and then giving the employee or the member a way to negotiate or pay that claim.
Right.
So on that note, unless you want to add anything, I'm just going to transition to and show a case study.
Yeah, what's interesting is that we actually had an employee. He went to the orthopedist. This is an employee of a client of ours. He found out that that practice had gotten consolidated by a private equity firm. Normally, when that happens, there are changes within staffing sometimes, or there's changes within their policy. Normally, the policy with private equity backed firms is to increase their revenue. So that means on your side as the employer, higher claims, more procedures that are unnecessary, unfortunately. Fortunately, he had gotten a notification from our app to remind people like, hey, you have this benefit, make sure to use it. He used CareGenius because the doctor that he was seeing was recommending extreme surgeries for his orthopedic issue. And it was a minor issue, but he was suggesting very, very high cost surgery. And the employee, as the doctor was talking, put into CareGenius his situation and asked for all of his options, because the doctor would only give him the high cost surgeries as options. So it gave him all of the different options. Of course, on the top of the list is rehab, because it was a minor issue. And he asked, okay, well, what about rehab? And the doctor quite literally says, oh, that must have slipped my mind. How does rehab, the most basic treatment, slip your mind, but a high cost surgery that costs $35,000 doesn't? Obviously, he was able to just do rehab and he's fine now, was able to save about $20,000 from what he was going to pay with that surgery. But that just goes to show that nowadays doctors, their practices are getting consolidated. It is imperative that your employees know all of their options. And sometimes their doctors don't tell them all of their options. And so then you get forced into this high cost surgery that they don't want to do and you don't want to pay for. And so it's really imperative to have those sorts of benefits in your plan, because the insurance is going to catch it in the back end. But what about when the decision is actually made? And that's where navigation comes in.
That's a great example. I mean, we see the vertical integration. I normally talk about it with the insurance company owning a pharmacy benefit manager or vice versa, but we also see it with facilities where the hospitals are buying up different facilities, and then it just becomes a fox is watching the hen house. Who's making sure that the bills are being paid, are billed correctly? There is an incentive to have a lower bill. There's an incentive to have higher bills. So on that note, I'm going to switch over. If you want to come back and dive into CareGenius, maybe show a little. I'm going to show two examples The first, this is an example where one of my clients had an employee get injured on the job. So it was going to be a workers' comp claim. And they called me and said, you know what, this bill seems enormous. It's $22,000. We don't want to have it affect our workers' comp mod. We're willing to pay it for out of pocket. Do you think you could show us how to pay the bill for less? I took their bill, their EOB, their explanation of benefits. I took the procedure codes, put it into Care Genius, basically broke down each procedure here. And the total billed amount was just under $23,000. What they said that they should be paying was around $9,000 and change. Potential savings of just under $14,000. So the crazy part to me is that the Medicare reimbursement was only $1,365. Huge differential there. What the client was able to do was take this information, go back to the facility and say, this is what I think we should pay and this is why. So they were able to pay for this out of pocket and it didn't affect their workers' comp. It's a great story. It's a little different than the norm. The next one I want to a woman who was 52 years old, was very well versed in understanding what her out of pocket was, barely used her health care. She has a high deductible health plan, an HSA, with a $5,000 upfront deductible. And her thought is that, you know what, she never uses her health care other than her annual physical. What happened was she loves to work out. She does extreme fitness, dehydrated herself, and on a Saturday, thought she was having a heart attack, went into the emergency room, and then was stuck with a bill of $6,073.08. She gave me a call and said, you know, I understand I need to use the emergency room. I understand I have an out-of-pocket exposure of $5,000. I don't think that's a fair bill. I was there for 2 hours. They rehydrated me and left. So what I did is I put in the procedure codes, and this one it actually lists what the code is and what the Medicare rate is. Her total billed amount, $6,073.08. Medical reimbursement was $2,429. The savings, $3,600 and change. I was hoping to show us how Care Genius actually gives you the script to speak to a facility. And I think that's very, very important because a lot of times you show this information or someone gets it, but they don't understand how to talk to it only because they just don't do it normally. That's a great feature, is giving the employees a script to speak to a facility. This is a unfortunate example, but this employee, this member, was okay with it because she understands that she did have that out-of-pocket exposure, but she was definitely happy with not paying the full amount, her full deductible, and getting a bill paid for about half that. Just want to talk about again is why is this important to the employer?
It's important to the employer, one, because no one wants to pay for a bill that is not theirs. Technically, that is not your actual bill. That's not your price. No one wants to be overcharged for anything that they didn't pay for. If you're telling me that on the menu for, let's say, this procedure, that price is $15, but you're charging me $30 because, I accidentally charged you for a different thing on the menu, I want my money back. It's a quite simple value proposition because you don't have to overpay. No one wants to just leave savings on the table. You don't want to leave money on the table. Unfortunately, this happens all the time with medical bills. Normally, it's just human error. At the same time, even though it's an error that can be fixed. It doesn't have to be hard, especially with our platform. If you can get your actual price that is less than what they are charging you for, anyone would want to do that. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. And so I'm happy to kick it over to you if you have additional comments on that.
The biggest challenge that employers and employees come across is that we offer health insurance so people can use it and take care of themselves when they're sick. When an employee has to struggle with the financial strain associated with getting care, that shouldn't happen. I don't think it should happen in the US. I don't think it should happen anywhere. There's a reason why, I think we're going back to 2015 here, it was like 60% of the bankruptcies in America were due to
Medical
healthcare expenses.
Yep.
And it's mind-blowing. And of that number, people had health insurance. It wasn't like they were insured. I truly believe that this gives your employees, if you're an employer, a way to help negotiate bills, a way not to be overpaid, because they have no reference point of what a bill should actually cost. And that's where I've seen the biggest impact.
The financial strain that anyone in America goes through with healthcare is enormous. If you're one of those industries where you need the humans to actually do that productivity for you, whether you're in construction or you're in a white collar industry like consulting. Either way, you need them to be in the mindset to work. No one is going to be in the mindset to work if they are dealing with a giant debt of a bill that is just sitting on their counter at home. They don't know how they're going to pay that $40,000 bill. They don't have $40,000 to spend. It not only helps them from a financial point of view, it helps your claims as well, because it just means your claims are reduced. And on top of that, it helps your productivity. You want your employees to be in the right mindset to go to work. They're not going to be able to do that if they have a giant bill looming over their head. It's not just a money issue, but it's a productivity issue, and it's a mental health thing. Anyone who's dealt with money problems and debt problems, they know it's not fun at all. And especially if you don't have to be in that kind of debt, why not lift that off of their shoulders? Care Genius is, again, like he said, it's our medical bill negotiation tool. I'll scroll up so that you can see essentially what you first do is paste in your medical bill. That's what you see up there. And then it'll give you an analysis of the billing errors, and it'll go line by line for everything to figure out what it actually is. Now, some people may ask, okay, well, how are you getting these prices? How are you understanding the discrepancies? Every hospital has to post their procedure price transparency files. That is mandated by the government. Most people, when they try to go into those files, it's really difficult because you need a really extensive computer because it's such a large file. Once people go into that, they're like, I don't want to do this. It's too much work. We've already done the hard work for you. We have literally taken their menu prices, if you will, and we've put it into our system, whether it's Care Genius or whether it's Cost Compass. And so we're able to say like, hey, your price is actually this, but you're saying that it's X amount more. And we'll list where those prices are coming from. No one can skirt around the truth when you know what their prices are posted as. Think of us kind of as like that big brother to your employees who knows what the actual price is and will fight for them. If you scroll down here, you'll see that it'll also write you a medical bill appeal letter. So if they don't want to talk specifically to someone, they don't want to be on the phone, it's too scary, they can just send in this appeal letter via email, and it will put in everything that was already talked about, formal request, documentation, timeline, etc. This format is from medical appeal letters that have been successful. So it's that same type of format that we've adapted to. Here you have the phone script as well. So if they do want to call someone, it quite literally gives them the script as to what to say. They can also ask our nurse navigators to do that for them. Always remember that if they want to use the app, great. Most millennials, most Gen Zs, most Gen Xs, they want to use the app and they like it. But for our baby boomers or for our older generations, they may want to just use our person-to-person service. That's not a problem. Every solution that we have, the in-person service will also provide them.
I think that's great. I mean, I love the fact that it's giving a script, a way to speak to a provider. I think that's probably one of the number one challenges when people get bills. They're stuck with like, oh my God. Once I think they're in shock because they realize that maybe they don't have to pay this full bill. I see it many times, especially with high deductible health plans. All this stuff, I think it's a great explanation and a great example of how it works. Again, though, just like I kind of alluded to with RBP, there has to be communication from the employer, because if this is implemented at your place of employment, at your company, and it's not communicated to the employee, it's like having a resource that no one knows about. And that's where we come in terms of saying, how are we communicating with our employees? Is it just email? Is it a sign? A lot of times it's identifying the loudspeakers at your company, identifying with them. I love doing focus groups, bringing in employees, different employees, one that's a pain in the rear, one that's an angel, a tech, a marketing person, all different types of employees, bringing them in together in one room and saying to them, what do you like about our healthcare? What do you dislike about our healthcare? What resources do you like? The number one thing that I usually take away from those meetings are many people don't know, don't understand what resources are even available to them. Just like I said in the beginning of the call, employees do not talk about healthcare. They talk about it once a year and then when they need to use it. And that's the norm. Why is that important to the employer? Typically, health insurance has become one of the top 3 line items in your budget. And if you don't control it, it's going to eat profits. We're going through a healthcare renaissance right now. For the first time since I've been in this business, it's truly becoming transparent. We're starting to see where all the dollars are being allocated, where are they going, and how to control the cost. So on that note, I know we talked about many different things. I love working with you in the Healthcare Navigator team. It's been an eye-opener for me. And I think the fact that I love RBP so much, I think because it truly allows you to have your healthcare spend under control. This wasn't a push for RBP. I just have had great success with it, and it's not right for every employer. So that being said, Kayla, thank you for your time today. We might have to do this again, but as we grow, we'll continue to educate our clients and our prospective clients.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Thank you.